So if you're thinking about moving to Toronto, you want to consider the cost of living. Depending on where you're coming from, this may really play a big part. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the different cost of living aspects that you need to look at before you move here. So let's dive in and get started. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Nasira Jamal. I'm a local realtor right here in the Greater Toronto area. If you are new to this channel and you want to learn everything there is to know about living, working, playing, eating, sleeping, and even the cost of living in Toronto, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn your notification on so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Honestly, I get calls all the time from people who are relocating and moving into the Toronto area, and I absolutely love it. So if you are thinking about moving or relocating into the Toronto area, then make sure you either give me a call, send me a text or an email. Heck, you can even send a pigeon carrier. However you want to get a hold of me, I've got your back when you're moving into the Toronto area. So this may or may not come to you as a surprise, but Toronto is the second most expensive city to live in Canada, Vancouver being the first. So when you're looking at moving here, you want to really understand why it's expensive and what areas of your life are going to cost you the most. And so let's start out with transportation. Toronto has an extensive transit system that is already in place and is expanding. The subway system is expanding, but it is very expensive here compared to other areas in Toronto. However, if you compare this to places like New York, you are definitely going to find that Toronto is cheaper. But really, when you're looking at coming to Toronto, if you're not living right in the GTA, if you're living in the neighboring cities, this may be something that you want to consider unless you're driving your car downtown. And why are you going downtown? That's another thing that you really want to consider when you're moving here is the workplace. Where are you going to be working? If you are going to be working right in downtown, you may want to consider some of the other outlying areas in terms of living, because housing is cheaper in the neighboring towns and suburbs, and I will do another video on that. But you want to really consider where are you living in relation to where you're working, because Toronto, if you're living right in the heart of Toronto, trying to be close to home, you are going to pay more on housing for sure. So transportation is one of those things you want to consider depending on whether you're going to be using public transportation or if you're going to be using a vehicle. The other thing on using a vehicle to consider is car insurance. So in different neighboring towns and suburbs, you are going to notice that some of the areas will pay lower car insurance than others. And just, again, when you're doing your budgeting and you're looking at the cost, you want to look at how is it that you're going to be able to afford the lifestyle that you want, depending on how important it is to live right in the city or if you're going to live in the neighboring towns. So the transportation system in Toronto is an integrated system, which means that we have trams, buses, as well as subway lines. Now, it is administered by the TTC, which is your Toronto Transit Commission, and we are the third largest, busiest system in North America. And this is, again, based on our population. We are a metropolitan city servicing a lot of people in and out of Toronto. So again, we have a very good system in place, but the one thing to note is that it's going to cost you a little bit of money to use the services. So you're going to, look at the Presto card, which is a pass that you can buy on a monthly basis. That will save you some money, roughly about between $150 to $200 a month. And really with COVID right now, because a lot of people are working from home, this is actually something that you may not need to use right away if you come here, whether you're working right downtown Toronto or just outside of Toronto, is you may be able to save some money on transportation. But overall, you do want to look at the cost of transportation depending on if you're using the public transport system or if you're going to be using your own vehicle or you're going to be sharing a ride. There are a lot of people that use bikes or walk to work in Toronto because that's accessibility. So you just want to look at where do you live and where do you work, and then come up with that ideal situation of what type of transportation you will need and what will work for you. So let's talk about housing. Housing is extremely expensive in the downtown core. If you're looking at a townhome or a condominium, you are well over $700,000. And if you're looking for a detached home, you're well over $1 million. And you're not going to get a lot in terms of square footage. So that is something you have to keep in mind. If you're coming with a large family, this may be something that you want to look at in terms of your housing costs, because this is going to be one of your major expenses. And this is where I really, walk my clients through of where can you live that can give you the lifestyle that you want, but with the affordability factor in there. So there are other towns in the Greater Toronto Area that you may want to look at, but if you're really considering cost of living in Toronto, right in the heart of Toronto, you are going to look at way higher pricing in housing than you will in the outlying areas. Let's talk about healthcare. Now, the good news is healthcare in Ontario is free if you're eligible and you qualify for that. But if you're coming from another area, perhaps the United States or any other country where you may be paying for healthcare, this is a relief when you know that, once you qualify and you have your health card, you can access free healthcare. The one thing to note here, though, is a lot of doctors' offices are full to capacity, and you may be put on a wait list. There is a website you can go to, and I will put it in the description, so make sure you look for that. But it is a website that'll show you which doctor or in the area have openings, so that you can get a general practitioner that you can book yourself in. We also have access to a lot of medical health clinics, like emergency clinics, where you can walk in and get services. But you definitely, if you're moving here or relocating here, you want to secure a GP, a general practitioner. But the good news is healthcare is free, and if you are looking to get your health card, then you will want to visit a Service Ontario office near where you are so that you can get that process started. Let's talk about food. So this is going to be one of those things, if you live right in the core of downtown, we're talking about food, meaning restaurants, whether you're buying groceries, dining in, or ordering in, you are going to pay a little bit more if you're right in the core. The cost will be roughly around $533 a month on average, depending on how much you eat out, because restaurants can be expensive, and that's something that you definitely want to look at when you're creating your budget for food and groceries. Now, you are going to need internet and cell phone service. So this is something that you can budget for about $155 a month, depending on service provider and the level of service that you want or need. So compare that to some of the suburb areas. You are actually paying about the same, because the service providers tend to have the same rates in the different areas, but it will depend on the type of phone that you have and the packages that they're offering. Now, in terms of entertainment, you are looking at about $178 a month, depending on what kinds of things you like to do. If you really like to go to shows and sporting events, that might be a little bit higher. But overall, you're looking at about $178 on average per month for entertainment. A lot more people are getting into health and fitness, and this is something that you want to budget about $65 a month, depending on the type of gym membership that you want. In the outlying areas, you will have more choices in gyms, which are going to be a little bit more cheaper. However, if you live in Toronto, there are a lot of ways of getting active, which aren't going to cost you a lot of money. So you can go biking, walking, trails, and hiking. And so there are ways of still being active and not really too much hardship on the pocketbook. So that's something you can look into depending on what level of activity you want to incorporate into your lifestyle. So to wrap things up, it is more expensive to live in Toronto because it's a metropolitan city. There's supply and demand. It's a bigger city. It has a lot more things to offer. And really, there is the state of the economy that also plays a part on cost of living, because there are more jobs in Toronto, more higher paying jobs in the tech field especially, and you've got people earning a lot more money, which means that they can afford to pay higher costs for the different things that they need in terms of cost of living. So if you're thinking about moving into the Toronto area or the Greater Toronto area, you've got to give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or heck, you can even send a pigeon carrier. However you want to get a hold of me, I've got your back when you're moving into the Toronto area. I'll see you in the next video.